and welcome to the Bold Black Girls podcast. I'm Aries.
And I am Kim.
All right, so today, y'all like my shirt?
I do.
I got it from some website. I forgot.
Love statement shirts.
So we wanted to discuss a couple of things. We are recording out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
And we are bold.
We are Bold Black Girls. And so I had, I feel like it wasn't that we were avoiding talking about it. I think we just were processing a lot. But I told Kim, I'm like, we're gonna have to talk about it.
We do.
With this the Botham John case.
We talked about it offline.
Yeah, offline. I mean, it's a constant conversation. So we're gonna just kind of highlight like the Botham John case as well as the Tatiana Jefferson most recent incident, and even the Joshua Brown.
Oh gosh, yes.
We didn't even talk about that, but I was watching something, and one of the lawyers from the Botham, is it John?
It's Botham
John.
Yeah.
I don't want to say his name wrong. From his trial, we are familiar with two of the lawyers. Daryl Keith Washington and Lee Merritt are friends of ours in the Dallas area. And one of the other attorneys was Ben Crump, who is most notably known from the Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, and a bunch of other similar incidents of police
brutality against
murder,
yes.
basically, and also just issues with the legal system as far as how people are convicted when they are murders of African Americans, specifically males, but we've had the Sandra Blands, we got our, there's a lot of others, but he wrote a book that I was telling Kim about. I was like, we might have to dive into this because it really goes in. It's called Open Season, and it's called Open Season: Legalized Genocide of Colored People. And I just want to read a little bit of the kind of description of the book, because it really triggered a lot, and I think that's where I just want to highlight a little bit about like how this kind of stuff, I mean, if you've been living in America in the last, year, you've heard of this case, but I think, with that happening in Dallas and this latest case of a police officer basically murdering someone from while they're inside their own home, again, it obviously is causing a lot of like what is going on here in Dallas. Texas and Dallas specifically, right? So it says, in Open Season, award-winning attorney Ben Crump exposes the heinous truth, whether with a bullet or a lengthy prison sentence, America is killing black people and justifying it legally. While some deaths make headlines, most are personal tragedies suffered within families and communities. Worse, these killings are done one person at a time, so as not to raise alarm. While it is much more difficult to justify killing many people at once in dramatic fashion, the result is the same: genocide. Which is really scary, because I feel like, when we first started seeing more of the videos, we heard the phone call, the Trayvon Martin, right? We didn't have a video of that one, but as we started seeing more of these videos, people were like, they've been doing this. We just starting to see it now. But I feel like seeing it is what's causing it's exposing it. And so there's times where something like that happens, and just imagine like you trying to, live your daily life, and this is like bombarding not only the news cycle, but all our social media, is just something that's in your face all the time.
And you have so much access, because think about it. Years ago, we did not have access to view a court case,
right?
So high profile. I mean, you could literally stream it from your phone.
Yeah, I think remember when the O.J. Simpson trial went on, we were able to see it like if you're at home watching TV at that time,
right? Like
on one of those channels, that goes all the time. But now it's like I'm on my iPad, on my phone, Twitter alert, ABC News Live, right from the courtroom. Yeah, like at any point in time. And so it had us thinking about, like, when you go to work the next day after this kind of stuff, your brain, like, we're going through all of this turmoil, you know, kind of right along with the families.
Yeah, you're processing it.
Yeah, so it's like, how do you function, you know, when you're trying to just, you know, this is going to come across your mind, especially if you're a Black person who, I mean, pretty much all of us have a Black male that's in our family, our daddy or brother or somebody,
Cousin,
you know, cousins, or a Black child, you know, a Black son or a daughter. It doesn't even matter. Like, at this point, it's like there's no discrimination against who gets it because it's kids.
Gender or not, right?
Yeah, no gender, no age, none of that. So I just wanted to kind of highlight a couple of the things, and we're not going to belabor this because I feel like everybody's been talking about it, but there were a couple parts of this Botham Jean kind of trial that brought a lot of internet attention. And it's just so many opinions. So let me just say what it was. For those who have not seen, I mean, I feel like if you're Black in America, you've seen it. If you're not, and you have never heard this, then very quickly, basically, there was a female, a white woman police officer who apparently got off of a shift and came home to what she thought was her apartment and walked into the place. Her key did not open the door. It was already kind of open because apparently of some like previous issue with the lock, I guess. She comes into the home. There's a Black male sitting on the couch eating ice cream, and she does not announce herself as an officer and give a bunch of commands like they usually would do in a case where you're thinking someone is a thief or a burglar or
intruding your home. Yeah,
intruder, right? And she shoots him. She shot at him twice. She shot him once and killed him. Not realizing, apparently, you know, according to her testimony, that it was not her apartment, assuming that this was someone who was just in her place on the couch eating ice cream. I mean, like, that whole thing was just like, it was so many parts to it that I think the prosecution did a really good job because they laid out all the facts and none of them really made, you know, the case. Right. So she ended up getting convicted of murder, and she was sentenced to 10 years, which with the possibility of parole and 5. So a couple of the incidents that happened. The brother.
Yes, the brother hugging for forgiveness to Amber.
Yeah, so he basically, they're a very religious family, and he kind of made a statement on his own accord without telling the whole family that he was going to be doing. He's a teenager, I believe. Right. So, you know, he said that he forgave her, you know, and he asked the judge if he can give her a hug. This is after she had already been sentenced to 10 years. I think it was just kind of his statement of, like, releasing this whole thing. It was for
him, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was a very touching moment, I would say, because I was like, I am not there. Like,
it would take a little time.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not at that point.
I'm not going to say little. It would take time.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine this has been a part of their family, like, for the last, you know, year. Every day. Like, this is all you guys are thinking about, talking about. Your brother was literally just murdered, being in his own place, minding his business. So you may have to go through a whole bunch of stuff to get your mind just to go forward.
Bereavement counseling, right.
Exactly. So if that's what it takes, hey, do you. But I think the most controversial part was when the judge, and you can tell, like, during the part where he did the hug, the judge was, you know, wiping tears and stuff. So I think everybody was kind of touched by that. And she professes to be a Christian woman.
Yes.
I think it was more, based on what I've heard from her own mouth after this, was that, you know, she felt like she could not deny that moment. Like, it was just a moment where, I guess she made a statement to Amber, and she was just like, I don't, you know, have a Bible. I don't believe in, not that she don't believe in God, but basically she just felt like, can I be forgiven for this and all this and that? Like, she really was pulling the heartstrings, I guess, of people. And, you know, you got folks to be like, so, like, you don't get a chance to have, you know, this kind of compassion.
And I think a lot of people were comparing it to, has anyone ever hugged someone of a African American descent that's right. Black? Has a judge ever hugged us? Right.
And I think that was the heavy part of it, because it's like, okay, so this moment of a black woman judge hugging a white woman who basically was just sentenced and convicted of murdering a black man in his home. Like, why is this the moment right now? You know, and some people felt like it was inappropriate for her job, you know, for her role as a judge for various reasons. And we never see that when it comes the other way around. Now, is that her responsibility for all the people who never hugged a black person in the courtroom?
Well, you know, we are history makers, so I guess maybe she perhaps wants to make history.
I guess. And I think I had a lot of mixed emotions in looking at the whole thing. I think I understood every single person's point of view.
Absolutely.
That thought of it, because I was on a roller coaster. Like, there was moments I'm like, don't be hugging her.
But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, what would I have done in that situation? I don't know if I
don't know.
Hugged.
I don't know.
But
we're not in it.
Exactly.
And we don't know. Like, everybody's been kind of dealing with this in whatever way. I never want to say what I would do in a situation that's not, you know, I'm not in it, so I don't know nothing. But it was very interesting. And then I think the other part was there was a moment where the bailiff appeared that she was like fixing her hair. Yeah. And I was like, that's ridiculous. When I first saw that, I'm like, what is happening now? This is looking ridiculous. But the judge was on Tamron Hall, and she said, and I think some people have heard this and they still just don't believe it, that I guess when they had a recess or something, they didn't have a chance for her to get back like frisked or whatever, and so that's proper procedure for them to check if there's any kind of contraband or whatever in your hair. The appearance of it just didn't look good. But that's what she said it was. So I was like, when I saw that, I was like, okay, cool. Like, I can ride with that as a...
And media will portray things that really aren't reality. That's right? True. I mean, people are posting meals where they've probably already taken a screenshot or in the cookbook. You just never know. Like, seriously. So it's like, we need to take what we see on social media sometimes with a grain of salt.
And the headlines can make anything seem way more than what it is, or put false things out there. Like, you got to do your own research, because that's why I was like, I don't want to be quick to just jump on this opinion, like on whether who's right and who's wrong. Like, I never just feel obligated to do that, because I'm like, first of all, that's their family, their situation is not, you know, in my opinion, is not going to change the outcome at all. You know, I mean, and we're like, I know Daryl and Lee, and I see both of their pages, you know, doing their things and posts, and I'm just be like, I don't even want to be a part of that yet, you know, until I see kind of just what it is. And I really just know that my opinion is not going to matter in this case. It's more so just kind of as we think through our own morality and character.
And we need to deal with the facts. Sometimes I know we put feelings into a lot of things, but sometimes you have to take the feelings out and come with the facts.
Yeah, and especially with all that Black people have really gone through, I think we jump on each other's thing like this all our case, you know, right now. Right. So we're like, no, he needs to go. She needs 99 years. Like, that's it. That's all. Because we are all feeling like that was our cousin, you know, for real, right?
That is true.
Because we were going off.
It's really close to home, like the whole Sandra Bland.
Yeah.
I want to say I was down there like a week or two after that happened.
Ooh.
So that was fresh. So it's like, we're down here. I'm like, ooh. People are like, oh, you moved to Texas and they down there killing them. And
it's scary because these are incidents where it could be us. Right? So with Sandra Bland, she's just driving down the street, gets pulled over on a typical, you know, supposedly the tail light or whatever. A routine traffic stop turned into this lady dead a couple days later. And it's like...
And that right there has an impact, because now as I'm driving, right, day to day, I have anxiety.
Exactly.
My daughter has anxiety from it.
I already had anxiety before this happened, so all these incidents just make it worse. Yeah. The Botham John, you know, his incident where it's like, okay, you're in your house, like, make sure these doors locked, like, double check, make sure.
Now we understand why your mom would lock that door.
Exactly. And then, you know, obviously, you know, Joshua Brown was a part of that case. He ended up dying a couple
days.
like a week or a couple days later.
Yeah, like
No one knows really what it is. They arrested some black people, which I was like, I just don't believe anything anymore. Like, I feel like whenever the police department puts something out, or I just don't believe the headlines anymore. So when I see that they arrested some folks, somehow he was, it was a weed sale gone bad or something.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm not believing any of this. And so then we just, come across this latest incident, which really, I think,
within days of
all this Amber Geiger stuff, I'm like, they trying to keep us just locked. I mean, you're not safe in your house, like, at this point. So, Tatiana Jefferson lives in Fort Worth, not far from us. Well, far if you're thinking about having a job out there or something like that. Right. But not far, too close for comfort, basically. Correct. Where apparently she's in her home with the door open. I don't know if there was a screen door. I don't know what it is, but playing video games with her nephew. Maybe she wants to have some of the October breeze that we're just now starting to get.
That's what the case was. She had it cracked to get cool air.
Right. So a neighbor is concerned, calls the police. I think he knew that she was in the house, but just was like, I don't understand why her door's open. Wasn't willing to go over there and, like, knock on the door or nothing, because you just never know. Maybe he just didn't want to be involved, Welfare checks are typical calls that people can make to the police.
And I want to say he called the non-emergency
No,
line.
Exactly, because, like, I've done that. Well, I've done it before, and I've also, that's how my dad found out my uncle was sick when he did a welfare check. They go in, usually an ambulance or somebody that can check. Company. Yeah, they're just going to make sure that everything is okay. Well, apparently this police officer came to the house and was just, like, creeping around the house with a flashlight. And it was dark out. It gets dark at, like, 7 now. Like 7 something.
Right. Well, yeah, and it was 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Was it that time?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. Well, she was in there playing video games with her nephew. And he's creeping around like a little creeper in the back. Because he had his body cam on, we could see the whole, thing of him walking around in the backyard with a light on. And it's like, ring the doorbell.
And thank goodness for body cams, because guess what? If we did not have that to this day, so I'm grateful for technology.
I am too.
And video. Me
too. Because that's really starting to make it a little bit more, but still it's like it ain't helping because it's still happening. From what I saw like a 22-second clip of him in the backyard with his light flashing it inside the house. I just was thinking to myself, if I'm in my house by myself and I see someone walking around my house with a flashlight, I'm gonna go get my gun.
So that actually happened to me. So remember I told you my mom accidentally called the police?
Yes.
So happened? I didn't know that she had accidentally called the police. So I'm taking my bedtime bath, get out the bath, I hear on the door, boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, well, who is this hitting on my door like that? I apparently have the wrong house.
Right. I'm not expecting company.
Correct, because most black people call before you come.
Exactly.
Call, text, communicate.
Right.
So my room is in the front of the house. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to go to the window because I don't even want anyone to see me there.
Because you can't see out, especially if your light is on.
Right. So I played like I was a sharpshooter through the house, and I was like peeking. But I could see the police flashing their lights in there. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, so I didn't know it was the police. Because I was like, I'm not going to open the blinds. And I'm like, who is flashing a light inside of my house? So I think Kiara was upstairs, so she looks out the window. She's like, it's the police. So I'm like, okay, let me go out here and see what's going on. Mm-hmm. They didn't have guns drawn, thankfully. Thank God. But just imagine, because for a long time, for at least 2 or 3 minutes, I did not answer. Right. And they kept banging, and they stayed there because they have to stay there to make sure there's no harm at the house. Right. But that could have been me.
It could have been. That's the part I think that really, because so on the video, for those who have not watched it, it's basically like if you're in your room and someone is in the backyard with a light flashing, all you hear him say is like, put your hands up. I don't even know if he finished his whole sentence before he shot into the house.
Into a window.
Into a window. You couldn't even see in there from what, from the body cam that we were looking at. You can't see. So I'm like, what if that was the nephew?
Oh.
What if that was the, you know what I mean? But still, it was her, and that still was enough. It's like, you just shooting randomly in the house? What is going on?
And the door was open, so you could have gone in. You could have walked up, knocked, and announced yourself.
If you're that scared, you need to call for backup.
If you're that scared, you probably don't need to be a cop.
You don't need to be out here, because I'm not a cop, because I don't want to be in those kind of situations. But if you're that person, you're in the wrong profession. Like, that's not even, I'm sure there's some kind of protocol that needs to take place. Did you knock on the door? Did you ring the doorbell? Like, I don't get it. So I think that incident really caused even more anxiety.
More tension.
It made me realize how much I leave my door open.
Yes.
I have kids, and they go in and out, and there's times that I want the sunlight to come in. I'll leave the front door open, but not unlocked all the time. I'll lock it, but it'll be just like open. Not no more. I have to tell my sons, I'm like, I don't care who knocking on the door. Don't open that door, and especially if it's the police, which is just super sad.
Yeah, because now they may have a fear of the police.
And they have a right to have that fear at this point, because they're seeing it. They watch things on TV, so they're going to automatically know, And when this happened, I don't know what we were doing. I think I told you we were watching something on TV, and I got the Twitter update, and my son was like, "What's wrong, Mom?" Because I just like...
Because he could tell.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, And so he was like, what? And I'm like, I don't even want to talk about it right now. Because I don't want him to get, it's like you don't want your kids to grow up in fear, just period.
Right. And one thing that I saw on the news, and they had a local resident, and it might have been a local pastor that was in the community.
Mm-hmm.
He showed the picture of the last police class that graduated.
No black people?
Not one. So, in my opinion, if you have a community where is predominantly African American,
you need to be recruiting from within the community.
Yeah, shouldn't you have someone that looks like them that can relate to the community?
Because
that can build that relationship with them?
Exactly, because that's a difference between, even within the blue community, black officers are not treated the same as white officers. And they got a whole nother set of politics that's in the police system, like they don't be, telling on each other and stuff.
Right.
They have that little kind of code of silence or whatever. But even with black officers, when I grew up, the officers were my parents' friends.
Wow. That
they went to high school with and stuff. They were like, get your butt home. Like,
right.
What you doing out here? Stuff like that. Which I think that is really a practice they should be using. Instead of trying, but I think the policing has become a thing of like, we're here to, kind of regulate on you. Yep. And it's like, I don't even like police riding behind me in the car.
I don't either.
I'm like, oh, let me just, and I put my cruise control on the speed limit, so can't nobody say that I was going any other speed. I'm like, I'm gonna be going exactly 40.
And it's to a point that, as a black person, like I tell Kiara, if you get pulled over by the cops, call me immediately. FaceTime me, like, you need to record it.
Mm-hmm.
It needs, especially if you're alone.
Exactly.
Even if you're not alone.
Exactly.
Someone needs to be recording it.
And they're recording it, and it's still happening. It's just so scary, and I'm like, dang, I only got like 5 years before my oldest son will be driving a car, and I'm like, ooh, I don't want you out here. Well, another friend of mine, Lashady and Anthony, he's a McKinney council member out here, and he was trying to, I guess, create a resolution, basically like a black state of emergency in Texas, and his video, a video of his statement is on our Instagram page. If you want to take a look, I'm going to repost it. I posted it on our story, but I'm sure it's gone by the time you guys are seeing this. But it was really emotional because I'm like, as a black person who is around people who may not all be black all the time, and they're not even concerned with this. Like, they're not concerned at all with any of this news necessarily because it's not affecting their community on a regular. Like, we're bombarded with these stories. We're close to it. We know people involved in the cases, and these become familiar faces over time, and so just to function on a daily basis. Imagine going,
into work. you're distracted.
Yeah.
Mentally, emotionally. It becomes just like there's an emotional tax. It can become emotionally draining. And there are facts that, like stuff like this is coming out. It causes anxiety and trauma.
I agree, and I believe it. That's why.
I mean, somebody knocked on my door. I'm like, who is that? Like, I'm nervous. Like, what's going on?
My best friend, she has one of those ring alarm. Doorbells. And right before this incident, she had a video of a cop that was like knocking on her door all hard. He had gloves. I'm like, why he got gloves on? Like, I'd just be paranoid for every little thing, basically. Just knocking on her door, looking around, and then walked off. And I was like, check and see if there was anything going on in the neighborhood. Like, was there any calls or anything? She didn't see anything, and she said there was no reports of anything that happened. So, ain't no telling. I was like, well, ain't no need of you knocking here. I don't know nothing. I ain't seen nothing, and I don't need to answer the door. Which is just unfortunate, because one of the statements that LaShadion said was, like, we just want to live. Like, what? It's like, who do we call when something's going on? Like, you can't call them, because then you end up being the perpetrator or whatever by the time they come. And it makes you feel bad, because it's like, I don't want to be that person who's all
anti-blue,
because they'll be like, people will fight for that more than just like being realistic about what's really happening.
Yeah. And
I'm like, I'm seeing this like firsthand, and so I'm gonna care about it a lot more, than somebody who's like, that's just a news story that we're seeing that's not realistic. And it's real, because it's right here. And now I'm like, shut that door. Don't be answering no doors. Like, now you living all paranoid and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like my kids being out for too long. They got to come back every 10, 15 minutes.
Check in.
Because
I'm
like...
Even in suburbia.
And especially in suburbia. Because I'm like, you can't be out there like your other friends. They be out there all late. Me and Kim. One night, we was in here recording one of the episodes. And... it got dark quick. Like, they were outside playing with their friends. I'm like, girl, we need to go outside to find these kids. And they was in the park playing soccer. Get your butt over here. Who do you think you are? Like, I'm like, y'all are tripping.
You can't do what the others do.
No. I'm like, they don't have to worry about the same stuff as us. That's a reality. And so, yeah, I'm going to have a certain type of attitude when something like this comes up.
Because you have a black sons.
I got a daddy. I got cousins. I got, friends. I care about this stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm not. It's not going to not affect me. Like, It's going to affect me wherever I'm at.
And the common theme is both of them got shot in their home. So it's like, we aren't even safe.
And by the police. So who do you call? And then, so when someone, they've had a couple famous ladies, particularly white women, but they were... that were threatening to call the police on black people for various things. Like, you see these stories all the time on the internet where one is like, I see these people
in the park.
We got the barbecue Becky that was in Oakland, right? Y'all using charcoal. I'm calling the police. It's like they just quick to call the police for every little thing. The most recent one that I saw was a lady trying to call the police. The police, luckily, they didn't even listen to her, but it was a black couple moving furniture into a new apartment. It wasn't their apartment, it was their friends, but they were helping move the stuff. And like, let me see your ID. You don't live here, da-da-da-da. No, you're trespassing on private property, blah, blah, blah. And was blocking the door for them to get in. I was like, dang.
Wow.
She lucky, because that could have been a whole nother incident.
That was bold.
Super bold. Like, she stood there and then tried to call the police. And then in the end, the police didn't even listen to her anyways. But when someone threatens to be like, I'll call the police, you're basically saying you don't care about my life.
Yep.
Because you already know what that means. Which, I just be feeling like we need to talk about it because it's real. We all see it. We know it's real. You know it's a difference. Don't act like you don't know it's a difference. As soon as we know and acknowledge it, then that's when we can start doing something.
Moving forward.
But when you're dealing with people that are not black and they'll be like, what? Oh my God, I didn't know. Come on. Like, where have you been living? You know it's not the same. One of the ways that I have people understand, kind of the ways of, being a black woman, I'll be like, if I'm talking to a white lady, I'll say something like, you know how you feel like if you walk into a room full of men And, you know, they're all just, and it's real general because in their minds, they already know what those men look like to them. Right? So if it's a boardroom and you're a woman in technology or whatever it is, and it's all men, they have this like, I'm the only woman. Like how everybody was championing Nancy Pelosi on this latest, you know, picture of her standing up at the table full of, you know, all these men. And they're like, go girl, yes, one woman, you know, standing up. I said, so imagine if you were black. And whatever visual just happened in your head at that moment, that's what I want you to think about, because you know that there's a difference.
Yeah.
So you can act like you don't know, but if I say, imagine you woke up as a black woman today, you'd be wanting to cry and scratch your eyeballs out. For real. Am I lying?
You were telling the truth.
Am I lying? It's the truth, though. So I just felt like, you know, with us being out here in Dallas, we need to kind of just discuss that. I think as a Christian, you know, Christianity got a little bit attacked during this, you know, because they're like, see, that's why y'all over there worshiping white Jesus and all this and that. Why they always gotta say white Jesus, though? Like, it's like, if you just start talking about Jesus, they automatically be like, white Jesus. I'm like, well, my Jesus got dreads. I don't know what y'all talking about. So I think we really got to be careful, like, what we're taking in, and use your own opinion. Like, don't always jump on every bandwagon, because I feel like so many people jumped on the bandwagon that weren't even from here.
Based on what was posted on social media. You're
not even from here. You have not been to Dallas one time. You know, and then it was like, that's ridiculous. I mean, going so hard about every single part of this case, like, especially the hugs and the everything. Yeah. Even if you felt that way, the fact that people will feel like their opinion is that important to, like, force out there, I just be like, why do you feel like you gotta say that? Me and you can talk about it, and that's between us.
Correct. They're not on social media, and then they're threatening the judge's life.
That's doing too much.
That really is. It's like, so you're gonna threaten her life? She's not the one. She didn't kill him.
Exactly.
So we focus the attention on the wrong things.
And I heard that a lot of the things that she did with the trial, by allowing certain things in, was really preventative of the appeal. Because they were going to try to appeal, but basically the way she did it, they did that trial so clean that it's almost like there's nothing to appeal. Like, she gave them everything, and they still lost.
Wow.
So, like, really, it's a win, you know, just in the bucket. No, it's not going to cover all the, you know, things, but it's still a win. I do want to read this book by Ben Crump, Open Season, Legalized Genocide of Colored People, just because I do feel like we do need to expose it. That's really what this is. Yeah. This is a book of exposing all these legal cases, things that have happened, so that we really understand that there is no justice in the system. It's really a legal system, but that justice is not happening equally for people of color.
Right, and who better to know than the person that's been working on all these cases?
Exactly. So I'm really looking forward to reading this book.
Yeah, and shout out to the lawyers, because they are sacrificing tons of time.
Yes.
You know, like you said, I've seen their posts, especially like Daryl. He's not really able to go on vacation because he has to prepare for the cases.
They have families. Lee has children. Right. You know, I mean, they're like, it's just a lot going on, and this takes up everything. And then next week, you're like, here goes another one.
There's another case, because they're calling them.
Just as soon as that happened, the Joshua Brown, Lee again on TV. Again, you know, this situation. Again, and it's like...
So think about their emotional and mental well-being.
How do you even self-care?
That's a good question.
Talking to these parents every day, you know, these mothers and fathers
that
of
these
children. Yes.
So they're not only a lawyer, they're like counselors too.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. So pray for the legal teams that are trying to fight for equality in this justice system. There are a lot of people. Van Jones, I think he's a part of some organizations that are working on, like, prison reform. That was Meek Mill. Remember, when he went through all that stuff. So there's a lot of people out there that's really trying to do some things to make some change. We just wanted to address that. You know, we can't call ourselves the Bold Black Girls. We're not talking about our bold black issues. Correct. That are affecting our people. Us. So, what would be like a call to action, I guess we could say on this?
I would say a call to action is be the change you want to see. Yes. Right? Also, become active in your community.
Yeah.
You know, that means voting at the local elections, because those elections, they do matter.
Yep, that puts the judges in place, you know, and some of these processes that are in place were because of votes that took place. So,
also serve on your jury duty.
Serve, because I want a jury of my peers. If anything happens to me, you want a whole, you know, group of people that don't look like you determining your fate, basically.
Yep. I would also say educate yourself. So when you vote, know what you're voting on.
Exactly.
You know.
I really appreciate Lashadion Anthony, because I remember back in the day, like, we were the protesters. We were the ones out, you know, advocating and stuff, and going to the council meetings and saying our statements in front of the council and the police chief and all that stuff. And he ended up really saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to do it y'all way. And, like, ran for city council, won, and now he's sitting up there as the only black man helping have a seat at the table, so that when they make these decisions, his voice is being heard, kind of representing us.
I was gonna say, because representation really matters.
So that city council level, even, you know, that's true. We got to pay attention to that stuff. People who you're voting into the city council are sitting at the bench making those rules, which go up to each level. So we definitely don't need to act like my vote don't matter no way. So, well, go put it in there anyway. Let it not matter after you put it in there.
Absolutely. And your ancestors fought way too hard for us to vote, for you not to vote.
Exactly. People died just so their voice could be heard. So at least just for them, go stand in line. There's going to be some time. Go do early voting.
Yes.
That'll help eliminate a lot of those issues at the polls, you know, the day of. If you have that in your state, make sure you are early voting as early as possible, just to get that in there so that there's no issues. All right. We're done with our Black Power moment. But it's real. I mean, this is our daily life. So even if we're not talking about it, it's something that we're dealing with and we're talking about offline. So, anywho, all right. So, call to actions. We got those out there. Other things, please go to boldblackgirls.com. There, you can pretty much find everything. So, you can figure out what podcast player you want to hear us on, or if you want to hear it straight off the website. Join our newsletter for latest and greatest things that we got going on. We're on all platforms, so you already know that. And you can also purchase a Bold Black Girl t-shirt on our website.
Yep, and don't forget to rate and review.
Rate and review, like, subscribe, all of the above. And I think we got like 20 subscribers on YouTube. I mean, come on, y'all.
Right. And if you want to hear any specific topics, shoot us an email as well. Because we're planning for our next season.
We are, so let us know. And if you would like to be a guest, also let us know and give us a little bit about yourself and what you would want to be on here to talk about. Because some people be like, it might be on a podcast. I'm like, what would you talk about? I'll be like, I don't know, just stuff. I'm like, nah. Nah, give me some stuff. Alrighty, y'all. We will talk to y'all later. Have a bold week. See ya.
Peace.